All right, race fans, it's back for some action at Sebring with these MX5 Cup cars. I am your host, the Derek Leonard Experience here. I've had two races off. I know you're sad to hear me back in the booth. Dimitro was enjoying the break, but I'm back with my co-host Dimitro, and we're ready for some exciting Monticello Motor Club Esports racing tonight. Dimitro, are you excited about this Sebring layout?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's great to have you back, Derek. Definitely missed you in the booth. It felt a little weird sometimes with Josh, but is what it is. We all can't be as good as Derek, but hey, don't worry about that.
Come on. The screen is amazing. Josh out in Sonoma. We've got a lot of, we've got kind of a thinnish field tonight because we got a lot of guys working around the country. We're getting into SRO and Pirelli Challenge and Porsche Cup racing and lots of drivers in real life doing things. We got a 15-car field tonight, Dimitro, and we got Brian Hedian on the pole. So it's going to be exciting. Eric Paterno is outside front row. He is the points leader right now for the members, and he is looking to solidify his lead here in the points. So we've got an exciting race here tonight. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, completely agree with you there. Not too long ago was the 12 hours of Sebring, so I feel like a lot of these drivers may be familiar with the track, if not very comfortable with the track, having driven in other racing series which have allowed them to race in the 12 hours of Sebring. So hopefully we can see a lot of that skill being transferred over to today's race and see how much pace these drivers truly have. It's going to be pretty interesting to see that, as you're saying, lots of the instructors currently out and about doing other things. So there's definitely going to be some room to shine here on the top step of that podium.
No doubt. It's going to be exciting. These guys have been putting into practice. Pace car is in, and we are waiting on the green flag now, and Hedian leads him to the line. Hedian and Paterno in a drag race across the strip. They go four wide immediately as these guys are drag racing down into turn one. Just what I expected here. Brad Perez making a big move early. Perez been busy at Homestead. Oh, and that car is
Eric Paterno.
Paterno, your points leader, doesn't make it to turn two. His car's undamaged, but he is off the track. That is not going to help his position on the leaderboard.
Yeah, Paterno's luck really just not here this season. During last or 2 weekends ago at VIR, getting involved in that massive incident which I think was with one of the Barthelm's twins, and man, again getting caught out. Not sure if it was a contact and then just initiated that spin on the car, but super unlucky stuff for Eric Paterno.
No doubt. So you got Brad Perez running in second. Now, like I said, Perez is a racing Nextel. He's racing Xfinity cars right now in the NASCAR series, and was just at Homestead in real life. But he started his career in Mazdas with a home-built, hand-built Mazda, and he's done a lot of sim racing as well. He's a great instructor at Monticello. You can book him by calling concierge. Call the concierge desk if you want to book some great instruction with any of these instructors. Brad Perez in second place with Sean McAuliffe in third with Austin Cranes and Ian Barthelms rounding out the top five. Manny T in sixth place, a sim racing commando. Manny T is fantastic. Then there's another Barthelms there, Paul, followed by Alex Schneider, Jordan Klein, and the resurgent Brian Quealy in 10th place. So these guys are working on lap number one still, heading into the final corner complex. And there's just a lot of action in this field, Dimitro. These guys are all over these curbs, headed down to the bumps of turn 17.
Yeah, no, it's super tight packed still, which is very fun to be watching right this second. Miata's around Sebring. It's a little bit of a long lap. This is maybe not the best car when it comes to immediate action, but the packs are staying nice and tight, which is super fun to watch, and these drivers are hanging it loose right there. Sean McAuliffe, as we saw, almost full opposite lock going into the hairpin, still catching the car as he comes onto the front straight.
Ian Barthelms bringing his A game tonight, and Paul Barthelms in the Dunkin' Donuts car also getting a little racy out there on lap number one. It's pretty interesting. Manny T trying to tuck up behind the Dunkin' Donuts car there. the road racing entertainment machine looking good as we are into lap 2. I tell you what, these guys are working these little Miatas on this infield here right now.
Absolutely.
Using a lot of curving.
There's so much entropy when it comes to this track in terms of ways of approaching the track and different lines and such, especially in a car like the Miata. There's lots of ways that you can drive. You can drive it very aggressive up and over the curbs, or you can drive it far cleaner like a Formula car off of those curbs. So it's interesting to see all of these different driving styles and the places in which, oh wow, that was an aggressive move from Brian Quealy trying to close that door off from Manny T.
Look at him. Look at this guy. Brian Quealy.
Door to door.
Brian Quealy, by the way. Brian Quealy, a new father, just welcomed his second son. And you would think that would maybe cut into his concentration, but not a pro. Not a pro like Brian Quealy. Already moved up from 10th to 7th, and now he is all up in the chimney of Manny Tartaglione as the rest of the pack, McAuliffe trying to get back in the fight back there after having such a tough lap number 1. But Brian Quealy, man, where is this coming from? Clearly the guy's been putting the work in on the sim.
Absolutely. I mean, you could see there, even though, you know, he has the new kid, almost closing the door on Jordan Klein. Jordan Klein keeping his foot in it as he goes through the grass. But the aggression still there with contact between Jordan Klein and Brian Quealy, able to hold on just about. Sean McAuliffe able to take advantage of that situation and slot himself up into P8. And Jordan Klein with the pass on the grass. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Jordan Klein just kept his foot in it. That was insane.
He is not. There's no love loss amongst gentlemen drivers here, as Jordan Klein did not lift for Brian Quealy, and now he is up in the tailpipe of Manny T. This is some excellent racing. Look at the camera work, man. The guys in the control booth, Dimitro Central, the guys in the control booth giving us some great camera angles tonight as Jordan Klein keeps his foot in it, and Brian Quealy going backwards now in the field a few positions as Sean McAuliffe moves up through the field.
Absolutely. And Manny T and Jordan Klein giving us some amazing racing. I mean, honestly, this fight for P6, I feel like will go on this entire race. Jordan Klein a little late to turn in there, so falling back ever so slightly, not able to keep the same speed and momentum as Sean McAuliffe and Manny T. These guys are getting after it, but even further ahead, Brad Perez, the fight for P2 is 3 cars long. Ian Barthelms and Austin Cranes both want to that P2 spot and get their eyes on Brian Heating ahead. Look at them side by side going down into turn 6, late on the brakes. Ian Barthelms out braking ever so slightly, but leaving the door open for Brad Perez to fly down the inside there.
Yeah, absolutely. Brad covered him right off.
I think Austin Cranes is actually the real winner here, able to get the best line out of there. Will he look for a little bit of a devious move down on the inside into this right-hander? Yes, he will. Will he make it stick is the bigger question.
Perez, a pro, covers off Barthelms. Cranes is in position to take advantage of that, as you said. By the way, let's just talk about this Barthelms livery on the number 1 car. I mean, Ian Barthelms livery strong as always. Austin Crane's trying to stay in there, but not quite able to make it work on Perez. Hedian, meanwhile, is in a different zip code, benefiting mightily from the thin field. Hedian looking great out front right now. We're 6 minutes, almost 7 minutes into this 20-minute feature race. Oh, livery is fire on the Barthelms machine. That number 1 car looks fantastic.
Absolutely. We completely agree with you there. Barthelms never seem to fail when it comes to getting a good livery. You can always count on him. Ian Barthelms looking towards the inside here. Let's see how this plays out.
I think somebody just went huge in the wall. I think it might have been Schneider.
I think that was William Farr. William Farr, massive incident and back in pit lane as we speak. Also, Ian Barthelms making that move way too easily. Austin Cranes was being far too polite there.
Yeah, I think Barthelms will not find that kind of gentleman sportsmanship when he gets up to the Perez car. That was easy pickings for Barthelms as Cranes left the door wide open and just said, "Come on in and take this position from me."
Absolutely.
Got
And
3 cars out.
it looks like on the timing sheet, Ian Barthelmes has a faster fastest lap than Brad Perez. So there may be a little more pace. Oh my goodness. Keeping it sideways there. A little more pace in his little Miata compared to Brad Perez at this moment in time. But still, that little mistake coming out of turn 5, or no, turn 5, yes, may cost him as he goes down to turn 6.
Barthelmes sitting on the purple lap right now for the whole entire field at 2:26. Barthelmes has got the fastest lap in the field, but he's got to put it together for more than one lap if he's going to approach the second step or the first step of this podium. This race is looking great so far. We've got 4 cars out right now. Manny T's in the pits, Poulos and Farr, and Todd Rutura is out. Brian Quealy running in 7th. Paul Barthelmes in 5th. Sean McAuliffe in 6th. Go ahead, my good friend Dimitro.
No, I was going to say, completely agree with you when it comes to the fastest lap as Ian Barthelmes. I was kind of just scanning the timing sheet, and I was even looking up ahead. Brian Heating is running a 2:27 at this moment in time. I mean, that's half a second off of Ian Barthelmes' fastest time. Either Ian Barthelmes had the lap of a lifetime, or Brian Heating doesn't really necessarily have the pace that we thought he would have in this Miata. I mean, I feel like every single time I talk to Brian Heating, he's driving the ND, he's driving the Global. But man, Ian Barthelmes is really coming out with some surprise pace, but sharp on his tail. Austin Cranes not letting up on that rear bumper. I think one thing that Ian Barthelmes has to just lock in on is just focusing and ensuring that he's not looking too much in his mirrors. He's not defending when he doesn't have to, and looking far up ahead, looking at Brian Heaty and looking at Brad Perez and thinking to himself, all right, I've got to make the move on Brad Perez and hopefully catch up to Brian real soon.
Yeah, I mean, Perez and Heating are running about the same lap time right now. I'll tell you, I think Heating's just up there saving tires and waiting for the fight to come to him. He doesn't have to drive any faster than he's driving right now. And I think Heating is just, I mean, his lap times are fine. If you're in first place, if you're in P1, your lap times are okay, buddy.
For sure. I mean, but if we look right at the timing sheet right this second, Ian Barthelmes ran a 1:26.82 while Brian ran a 1:27.03. Now, mind you, Brian is in fresh air as well, and someone could argue that Ian is getting that draft on Brad Perez at this moment in time, but I would also argue, man, it's still a faster lap. Oh, looking towards the inside.
Brains under braking, tries to get his nose inside, gets a little bump, a little love tap on Barthelmes. Not enough to upset the Barthelmes car. But, man, these guys are definitely getting after it.
Absolutely. And I would argue this section that we're about to go into right now is a very difficult section to drive quickly, especially when you're right up close behind the car in front. So we brake hard into this right-hander, or about to come into this long left-hander. It becomes very blind when you're right behind the car in front of you, and the inside of the corner, you really can't see it that well, especially this braking zone right here. Hard braking at the second cone. As you turn in, it's hard to see how far wide you can go when you're driving close behind. So Austin Crane's able to keep it together and able to keep it close on Ian Barthelmes, but there is also something to be said where if Ian was to almost back off in those sections, Austin would have a way harder time figuring out where to place the car through those sections, and almost could be a strategic move from Austin Cranes.
You're totally right. Visual references are huge in that section. You've got to have track references and distance visual references, and you're right. Barthelmes could back Cranes up and make his life even harder, right? The closer you get to the front end of the Cranes car, but look here, Cranes with the drag race down into the big section here at the end. I think Cranes has got him.
Yeah, side by side, but on the outside, hard to make it work, especially in the more slippery part of the track. It's going to be a race of who gets the better exit. And it looks like right this second Ian Barthelmes does, but Austin Cranes moving to the middle of the track and making it difficult for Ian Barthelmes, especially as he can go on the outside of turn one. He's got to make sure that he turns it at the right point, or else he's going to completely miss this corner.
Yeah, it's very easy to apex early there, and there's a reason why all that red dirt's on the outside of that corner. And I tell you what, we haven't talked at all about the famous bumps in turn 17, right? Watching it here from the control booth, it is hard to tell how bumpy this track is on that transition area from the airstrips to the race pavement. But I'll tell you, I bet you these guys are in for a ride in these Miatas. Not to mention the fact the curbing is insane. And Cranes and Barthelmes, they're getting every bit of that curbing, really upsetting the car, getting it up in the air. And whoa, oh my gosh, Quealy goes through the DRS zone sign, just collected a signboard on the side of the track there. Great job, BQ.
Yeah, it's hopping on board with Brian Quealy, was trying to show the bumps in the track, and I think he showed us even extra bumps there. But if you take a look at how the horizon moves all over the place, especially in the exits of the corners, it really makes it hard for the car to hook up and get on it. And we'll especially see it coming into this back section. I want to make sure that we highlight that. So you're saying the right-hander before the back straight is it's bumps. It's like driving on the off-road track at Monticello. It is not an enjoyable experience.
These cars are pretty stiff, but I mean, they're not as stiff as, say, something like a prototype or a Formula car. But man, I'll tell you, these bumps really translate to your spine in these Miatas.
Yeah, I would not want to be a GTP driver during the 12-hour, because getting out of that car would be a miserable experience once that adrenaline wears off and you're like, yep, I exist now, and now my back
straight to the
feels
chiropractor.
Horrific.
Yeah, so straight to the chiropractor.
Exactly. Let's see Brian Heating if he goes, Brian Quealy, sorry. If he goes wide here, look at this. The car is all over the place, almost losing it going into the corner, keeping his wrists nice and light, able to catch the car. But man, the thing is all over the place, and even into the hairpin. If we take a good look on board, we'll hop fully on board with Brian Quealy. Just look at how much the camera moves inside of the car as he turns in here, gets onto the bumpy part of the track, and the car is all over the place.
Right there. Look at the hand. I know. Right? Yeah, that's fantastic camera work there. Thanks to the guys in the control booth for this amazing in-car footage. But yeah, that gives you an idea. Right there through turn 17, that is the signature surface of the Sebring Raceway. Like you said, they just had the 12-hour there about 2 weeks ago, and almost 2 weeks ago, and it was a great race. Congrats to the team out of Stuttgart. Porsche's won that race. But back with us here, Cranes and Barthelmes still fighting it out for the final step on the podium. Hedian and Perez just marking time as we've got about 2 laps to go, 4 minutes left in this race. If anybody's going to challenge Perez and Hedian, I'll tell you, these guys are going to be it, and they need to get something going here. Barthelmes needs to use this toe. He needs to use this toe, but I mean, I just don't think they quite have the horsepower. Look at the way Cranes takes those curbs. He is not scared to put that Miata up on 2 wheels.
Yeah, Crane's showing his skill and his driving style there, just really jumping over the curbs. He does it here as well. Typically, you could see he really gets up on the curbs almost as a way to sort of load the outside tire. Now,
sure,
I personally have not driven, at least as of recent, the Miata around Sebring, so I'm unsure if that is the best way to drive the car. I think drivers like Josh Green and Trent Walko would prefer to stay off the curbs typically, just as they are far smoother drivers, and the last thing they want to do is be catching the car coming out of a corner. I would argue right this second, Austin Cranes and Ian Barthelmes, if they even want a chance, I mean, with 3 minutes left, it's really hard, but a chance to catch up to Brad Perez and Brian Hedian, they need to stop fighting and to actually start working together. Ian Barthelmes giving either Austin Cranes the bump draft or vice versa, and they really need to focus on their exits. I think from watching them drive in the fight back and forth, they're really starting to miss their mark when they're the car in front. And they're driving far slower.
Cranes is running out of tire.
Oh, for sure.
Cranes is running out of tire. He's over driving the car. He's driving a longer lap than he needs to. His line is just not exactly tidy. He's just slinging the car around. I mean, he's quick, but he's making it harder than it has to be, and he's using up his car more than he needs to.
Absolutely.
The really top flight drivers are using less gas, less rubber. They're going a shorter distance. They're just smoother. And like you said, kudos to guys like Trent and Josh. They just keep all the rubber on the ground, right? It's just. But Cranes he's out there having fun. He's learning. He's practicing. That's why we do this in the off season. We're looking forward to seeing him at the club here, and when we open in just about 2 weeks. And I've got an announcement. If you hang on between these two races, I'll tell you guys more about our ND2 races. We're going to be doing real ND2 spec racing at Monticello Motor Club this year. We've got our formation meeting. If you're interested in ND2 cars, you can come out and meet with the Fliss guys. I think we'll probably have some appetizers. We're going to do some demos. We're going to talk all about the new ND2 racing series on the evening of April 5th at the club in the gallery. All members are welcome to come out and talk about the new ND2 program.
Great stuff. And look, it's perfect translation from today's race to the actual in real life race series. So hopefully see a lot of these drivers there and a lot of other drivers who are watching as well.
If you want to do this in real life, in a real life Spec Miata at Monticello, we have got just the thing for you, buddy.
Absolutely. Great stuff.
Cranes and Barthelmes, this has been really fun to watch. This is really great. Cranes has a really aggressive driving style. He is just getting it. He is really getting after it. It's really fun to watch.
It's really great stuff to watch. And it's also very interesting to see how the two drivers deal with pressure. I think Austin Cranes has a very, very aggressive style to driving, which is not a bad thing by any means. You know, it's one of those things that has been catching Ian Barthelmes off guard, you know, especially when you're looking in your rearview mirror and you see that paint job. It's quite the sight to see.
V-Box is trash. I never lived. I love that hood art. I tell you, I don't know which advertisers placed those graphics, but man, that is some nice livery on the front of that Cranes car.
Absolutely. No, it's great to see, but actually that's a great paint job. I'm not gonna lie. Let's get a little bit of a closer look at that. That is phenomenal stuff. I mean, by the way that Austin drives that thing, it never really looks like he lifts. It looks like he's jumping over every single corner and beelining it as straight as possible.
He does never lift. He's just slinging it.
Yeah, he's actually fully on throttle as he's going into each corner. He's just like full gas, full brakes. But,
so we're here last lap now. White flags in the air. These guys are absolutely getting after it. Barthelmes under quite a bit of pressure from Cranes. All the pressure is on Barthelmes here to complete a clean lap. I think he can hold Cranes off if he doesn't make a mistake. But Cranes is definitely trying to get him to make a mistake.
Absolutely. And one interesting thing to also think about is the point standing, the championship standing. And is it really worth fighting Austin Cranes that hard, especially when you're in contention for the championship? So for Austin Cranes, hasn't been able to make it to every single race this year, so not really that high on the leaderboard for the championship. But I think Ian Barthelmes is P3, if I remember correctly, and this will be massive points, especially with Eric Paterno's incident and Paul Barthelmes running behind as well. So, you know, every point does matter, but is it really worth the incident in the case that Austin decides to use a little too much track or be a little too playful, if you will?
Well, you know, Dimitro, that is exactly the kind of calm, cool, and collected decision that is much easier to make when you're not inside the race car on the white flag lap, you know? But you are totally correct. It would be in Ian's benefit just to let Cranes go. But I don't think that's in Ian Barthelmes' makeup.
Totally. And also another interesting point to make here is the gap that has actually been built, that Brad Perez has built.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I truly don't think it is down to, I mean, look, Brad Perez definitely has pace here, but I don't think it's all pace. I think that the aggressiveness of Austin Cranes and Ian Barthelmes in this battle has just led them to both drive very, very slow. Look at that. That over-under was perfectly done. Look at this
over-under. Oh, my gosh. That was a beautiful over-under in turn 17. And Barthelmes takes P3. Edian and Perez cruise to P1, P2. Barthelmes in third. Cranes finishes in fourth. The classic over-under in turn 17. And there's McAuliffe across the line, and Paterno, your points leader, finishes in 7th place. disappointing result for Paterno, no doubt, and he will be looking to do better in race 2.
Yeah, I mean, that was some great racing between Ian Barthelmes and Austin Cranes. I bet a lot of them were able to extract a lot of value out of that battle, really learn about that racecraft, and just honestly both benefit off of each other's difference in styles and ways of driving. Eric Paterno's super unfortunate result for him, especially having started on the outside in P2 and then unfortunately getting collected in an incident and spinning it on turn 1 on lap 1, but still able to reel it back to P7, which is not a bad result for him. Very good when it comes to thinking about staying in the championship, especially with Paul Barthelmes and Ian Barthelmes real close behind. And I think that's something he's definitely going to be thinking about going into race 2, ensuring that he has a super clean race, because consistency is truly what makes it, right? If you're consistent
And
in the car,
that's a Paterno trademark. Paterno shows up and finishes, right? So that is very uncharacteristic of him. He's had a bad turn 1. I expect a top 3 finish for Paterno in race 2. Looking forward to it here in about 5 minutes.
absolutely. Do you want to talk more about the ND2 series?
Well, I tell you what, let's take a break and we'll come back and I'll talk more about that during the really long pace lap in 5 minutes.
Sounds good. See y'all soon.
right, race fans, we're back for race number 2. Paterno is starting in 7th. I am really interested to see what happens here. But before we get this race underway, let's talk a little bit about the real-life offerings at Monticello Motor Club. I was talking a little bit with Demetrio about our ND2 program this year. We're going to have real Miata spec racing, and we're rolling that out this season. We already have about 20 cars in the field, and we're doing our showcase and demonstration of the ND2 cars at the gallery on April 5th. Also, we are going to be opening up for regular membership days on April 10th. By the way, April 5th is a member day as well. That one day we're open if you want to come out and do a little test and tune at Monticello. But the real season opens about April 10th. We will be booking instructors. If you want to start booking instructors for race weekends or for some coaching, just make sure you call Concierge and get those instructors booked. And finally, I always like to talk about Team Camp. We've got our Team Camp dates coming up this summer, and you can talk to your sales representative. You can talk to Phil or Amy or myself or anybody at the club about booking your youngster into America's only sleepover team camp. It's a fantastic opportunity to get young drivers as young as 13 up on the driver ladder and headed into race cars. Now, we're in turn 17. Edian on the pole. Brad Perez in second. We've got Cranes and Barthelms there and McAuliffe as they're coming to the stripe. Big truck turns in and we're waiting for the green, and here comes Paul Barthelms attacking on the outside with a good run down to turn 1. What is that, Demetrio? Are they 7 wide?
Yeah, that is far too many wide. But Eric Paterno putting himself in a phenomenal position here, surviving turn 1. Unlike, it looks like Jordan Klein, unfortunately, in the background there, kept it out of the wall. But Eric Paterno able to jump up from P7 up to now P4. It was P3 there for a second. But Ian Barthelms with a phenomenal car placement. Austin Cranes following close behind. Oh, who is that in the background? Is that William Farr?
Manny T.
Manny
I think
T?
it was Manny Tartaglione.
There's a few people with that paint job.
I think it was Manny T. Oh, well, that's true. It might not be Manny T. You're
we'll
right.
We'll find out in a second.
I tell you.
Alex Schneider that was. But the race is just underway, and we have a lot of action. Cars in close contention. Is that Brian Hedian, who also went back? And that's Eric Paterno.
I was about to say, Paterno is off power and off track. I was about to say the big loser for the first 5 corners was Hedian, who went from the pole back about 6 spots. Now, he's recovered to 4th place, but Paterno again takes damage, contact with Hedian, and comes out on the losing side. And Paterno again working his way back through the field.
Yeah, Paterno not having the best of days. Looks like he sustained enough damage on that car to have to tow it back to pit lane. So incredibly unfortunate stuff there. Now, there's a possibility, just given the fact that Brian's still driving fine, that it could be a little bit of netcode. For those who may not know, netcode is essentially when the games, you have 2 different internet connections that are trying to talk to each other simultaneously along with all other 16 cars on the track. So at times, things may not line up and sync up correctly, and it may seem like a car accident on one person's network and not a car accident on another person's network. It's getting a little technical, but essentially the idea means that incidents can happen where one person sustains a lot of damage and then one person just drives like nothing happened.
Right. Meanwhile, driving like nothing's happening, Austin Cranes. That guy is giving Brian, as he always does, Cranes with his signature style of 11/10ths driving every lap. Every lap is a quali lap. Every lap is a white flag lap. Austin Cranes giving it all she's got to get up on Brian Hedian here, finishing lap number 1. We're into lap 2, and you've got Perez at top with the Barthelms boys, Ian and Paul running 2 and 3. With Hedian and Cranes and Sean McAuliffe right there. So This is going to be a fight to the finish.
This is going to be a great perspective from Austin Cranes because we're going to see a lot of, look at that. Brad Perez up ahead getting a little squirrely there. He's going to have a bad exit out of turn 5. But we're going to see an interesting perspective because there's going to be a lot of talented drivers, a lot of drivers that are capable of taking the top spot, all fighting. Look at that. Brian Hedian back and forth, back and forth. Austin Crane's taking advantage of the fact that Hedian went on the outside line. Is Hedian going to make it stick? I don't think so.
I'm just watching this Cranes kid. I mean, he's like sightlines, visual references, vision at all. Who needs that? I'm going to stick right in Brian Hedian's tailpipe for this entire lap. I tell you, Cranes, just super aggressive, really fun to watch. Sean McAuliffe with a clean move, getting up around Cranes there on the outside. That was a great move. Pro move there by Sean McAuliffe, and now he's looking to take over Hedian's spot on the leaderboard. This is great racing. I love how
Yeah.
Can't quite make it work because Hedian's got the pace, but there's Austin Cranes doing Cranes things. It's fantastic. And Barthelmes gets around Perez up front for just a little bit. It's a drag race. Can Ian make it stick? Perez is no joke. Ian's got his hands full, but Perez comes out on top for now. These Barthelmes boys are looking good, and Brian Hedian joins the fray right there with a close 1, 2, 3, 4 pack up front.
Fantastic stuff from these drivers. Ian backing it off a little bit as they were going onto the back straight, understanding that the exit was far more important, and it shows right here as he's looking to the outside, going to the hairpin. Not sure if it's going to work, but he may try to over-under it, just like he did to Austin Cranes. And no, contact from his own blood. Paul Barthelmes spins Ian around. Heartbreaking stuff, especially fighting for the lead. Brad Perez able to, take advantage of that and drive off into the sunset.
Melissa Barthelmes is on her feet, screaming at the monitors. Ian and Paul hit, just tragedy. Tragedy amongst the Barthelmes boys. Tragedy for Ian, that is. Paul moves clean into second place, and the big winner is Brad Perez out front clear. And there comes Hedian slicing through the field to move up into second.
Yeah,
wow,
truly
Hedian's
heartbreaking
got pace
stuff.
now.
Yeah, Hedian definitely has the pace right now. He's definitely mowing the lawn at this point, but it's just heartbreaking stuff for Ian Barthelmes, just given the fact that I believe he really
comfortable
did have
family
the pace.
dinners next week.
Yeah, I don't. Oh man. I mean, hopefully Paul covers one dinner as a sorry, because that was easily P1 for Ian Barthelmes.
Hedian on the attack. We were talking in the first race about who had the pace, right? Mm-hmm. Who had the pace, who was holding back, who was maximum attack. We're about to find out who's got pace now, because Sean McAuliffe is not going to mess around. Paul is not going to mess around, and Brian is intent on running down Brad Perez. So we're going to find out over the next 15 minutes who's got pace.
Absolutely. And I think pace comes from patience in this car. We're talking a lot about exits, talking a lot about keeping the tire managed and not overdriving the car. And I think especially when it comes to things like overtaking, patience is key. It'll be interesting to see how patient Brian is with the overtake on Brad Perez. I feel like it's not a question of if it will happen, but more of a question of when. We know Brian is a talented driver in this car. He knows the ND inside and out. And in the first race, he was gone up the road. So the fight for P1 will be interesting, just because now Brian is in a place where he's not typically sitting in P2, especially in the NDs. So will he be patient around passing Brad Perez, forcing a mistake, and then letting the move come naturally? It'll be interesting to see. And we'll see if maybe things get a little crazy and things get bunched up again.
I'm just looking here at the board. Perez is sitting on the purple lap, and so Perez's last lap was not that great, though. Now Hedian's on the purple lap, 2:26 dead. Perez's best is a 2:27.6, a full 1.6 seconds off that purple pace. So Hedian definitely has the pace, but can he keep it going lap after lap? You got to put together about 9 laps to make this race work. So, and Hedian, man, he's needs to calm down. We've got a lot of racing left. There's 12 minutes left, and Hedian is really cooking right now. He is pushing hard. And there comes the Dunkin' Donuts car of Paul Barthelmes. This is going to be an interesting finish. All three of these cars are going to be very close before this race is over.
Yeah, we completely agree with you there. Brian's just got to keep his head in it. That's the biggest thing. Brian's just got to keep his cool, as we said before, because I feel like sometimes we watch Brian get into these higher places and he'll sometimes lose his cool and make moves he doesn't really have to make. So hopefully the next few laps here, we'll see an overtake, and we'll see a textbook overtake from Brian Hedian. And I got to say, Austin Cranes and Sean McAuliffe keeping things interesting for that fight for P4. They are mighty close, and two, I would argue, very aggressive drivers, both driving aggressively at the same time, is a sight to be seen as Austin Cranes gets up real close before this final sector.
They have such different styles. I mean, McAuliffe is so tidy and technical, and Cranes is just hair on fire, send it. And I love it, man. I love this racing right here. But Perez, I'll tell you this, back at the front of the field, Perez will not give any charity positions to anybody behind him. So Hedian's going to have his hands full to get to Perez, and even more of a battle to get around him.
Absolutely. And
Jordan Klein not out in the first race. I mean, we saw Jordan Klein spin off, but apparently he's still in the fight and giving it to BQ back here at the 9th and 10th spot.
Keeping his foot in it that was certainly a decision to be made, but it looks like it worked. I'm pretty sure this is a slowdown if you just sort of send it off there and keep your foot in it. But I mean, right this second, Jordan Klein is not letting up, so not sure how much of a slowdown he's getting. Okay, now he's serving the slowdown, going a little wide there.
Sure.
Or maybe that's his line. Unsure. Let's move up ahead again. Let's go back to the front. Sean McAuliffe, Paul Barthelmes, Sean McAuliffe and Austin Cranes still just back to back to back. I mean, it is amazing to see how close these drivers are right this second. And seeing those, as you're saying, those different driving styles, but I would argue that in close contentions, Sean McAuliffe can be a very aggressive driver. He can really stick his nose into places that the driver ahead would be a little, it would be silly for them not to back out. So
sure.
Well, putting it that way. But yeah, Austin Cranes though, look at that loose from him. I think he's starting to lose the tire.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it's a Cranes signature, right? He's literally driving the wheels off of it, kids. Now look at this, Paul Barthelmes giving it to Brian Hedian under braking. This is going to be interesting. We've got 9 minutes to go, and any one of these top 5 cars could cross the stripe first.
I entirely agree with you. It looks like Brian's doing a little bit of defending when he doesn't have to, and I'm excited for him to watch back this race and hear me say all of this, because I know I'm going to get a text from him saying, please stop commenting on my driving, but I will continue to do so. He's really defending when he just does not have to. He should really be looking up the road.
He's going to really like the part.
Yeah, sorry, as you're saying.
I'm just kidding. Hedian's going to really like the part where you say sometimes he overdrives it. He's going to love that.
Oh, he's going to absolutely.
That's going to be on rewind.
I heard he's really good with feedback. I heard he's absolutely fantastic. This is the time for Brian to make the move on Brad Perez. He should really be looking down the inside here in a second and just make it stick. Brad Perez, try to fake him out a little bit. Oh, no, the patience is good here. Brian, I'll give you credit where credit's due, because I know you're going to watch this later. The patience is good there. Let's see if we can make it work and hopefully keep all bumps. 4 tires on the ground.
Perez, Hedian is pretty loose through those bumps right there. Gets a big release to the outside there on track, on corner exit. Hedian is just working. Hedian does. I'm not criticizing him at all, because I love Brian Hedian, but we got 8 minutes to go. He doesn't need to do anything crazy yet, right? Just maintain your position and stay on Perez's tail. Maintain contact and, just wait it out. Wait for Perez to make a mistake.
Absolutely. And ultimately, Brad Perez is backing up this field. The fight for P1 is within 2 seconds of each other. So it's not like they're driving obscenely fast and he's got to make the move real quick or else Brad Perez is going to drive away. It truly is a patience game.
It's a patience game. Yeah, for your car, for your lap time, as well as what you're doing with the other drivers trying to maintain your position and advance. Everything about this race, in this car, in this track, is a patience game.
Totally. And everyone who's watching right now, put in the live chat who you're rooting for. Just want to see, who's got the strongest supporters, whose merch trailer is selling the most amount of merch. Would love to see who's rooting for who. So make sure to go into the live chat, put who you're supporting for. Make sure to also leave a like on this live stream. Helps show us that you guys are loving how it's going, and also helps boost it to even more people on YouTube so they can watch our phenomenal drivers give it their all every other Wednesday.
I'm going to tell you this. My bet is on these Barthelme's kids. Their merchandise trailer is always fire. Who doesn't want a Dunkin' Donuts trucker hat?
I would agree with that. The Dunkin' Donuts trucker hat, was it the animated, I don't know, whatever was on Ian's car. I mean, these are very fun merchandise. It's very fun merchandise.
But I will say now that's a fun, I mean, Barthelme's, they're playing to the masses, right? They're looking for the big numbers, but real racers are at the Austin Cranes trailer. Everybody wants the V-Box is trash tank top. V-Box is trash. That is classic Austin Cranes.
Truly, it must be. And I gotta say, I would probably buy a trucker hat that said V-Box is trash on it, to be completely honest. I think that's
well, on the back it says I never lift.
I think this might be the new hat that I make in my free time. And is that Brad Perez and Brian Hedian off the track.
Yeah, classic target fixation. Brian Hedian just stays with him and follows him right off the track.
But looks like Brian
went out for a little John Deere action.
That was the mistake he needed to wait for.
Absolutely, but man, he's loose right there, and Perez is still close. But yeah, that was classic John Deere action as they head off to mow the infield. And now Perez gets a push out of Cranes, and Hedian is hung out. And let's see how this is going to turn out as they head into this big right-hander, into the hairpin. Wow. This is going to be exciting. Only 4 minutes to go, about 2 laps, and we are wheel to wheel with 2 instructors out front, Brian Hedian and Brad Perez. Cranes has picked his favorite and is trying to get the bump into Perez there. All these cars are loose. They're overdriving these tires. It's greasy. It's late in the day. The track is hot. Sun is going down. And Perez takes the lead again. Hedian is door-to-door with Cranes as they were working with only about a lap and a half to go.
Yeah, I mean, Austin Cranes trying to hang it in there and make that fight for P1. Paul Barthelme's door closed on him by Brian Hedian, but I think these drivers in P3, P4, P5 are actually the real winners right here. They just have to wait for that fight with Brad and Brian and, just pick up the pieces as things will eventually go wrong. Sorry, Brian. Just because it's gonna happen. Brian's internet going in and out. The Monticello internet, not always the best.
Hey, you guys know this is probably Dimitro's last race with the Monticello Esports Network. So, hey, Dimitro, we had a great run, but Brian's probably gonna be calling you tomorrow to fire you.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate.
I'm just kidding. Here we are through the bumps now of turn 17. Hedian trying to keep it tidy, run the inside line, and get a run onto the backstretch, and it kind of works. He makes up some space on Hedian. He makes up some space on Perez. He's on the outside, though, heading into a left-hander, and Perez makes it count. We're not quite to the white flag. It'll be white flag next time by. Yeah, white flag next time by. This is the penultimate lap. Man, this is Miata racing. This next 3 minutes is why you're on this broadcast, kids.
Absolutely. Austin Cranes with that phenomenal move, great exit out of turn 1, and I think an even better exit coming onto one of the back straights. A little bit of a bump draft for Brad Perez. He's going to go to the outside. I really think he should have stuck on the outside there so you can get a good exit out of turn 6. all the drivers lining up. Sean McAuliffe
Look at
showing his
that.
nose, as I talked about.
Big, I know. McAuliffe, big on the brakes, man. Really late braking and gets it down there and makes Hedian think about it.
Absolutely. Also looking at the chat right here, Manny T seems to have sold some trucker hats. Alex saying, "Let's go, Manny." Manny currently sitting in P8, 3 spots up from his start. So I'm assuming that the Manny T camp is pretty happy at this moment in time.
Manny T is a hell of a merchandiser, I can tell you that. From his road racing entertainment roots, that guy knows how to sell merch. Look at Austin Cranes. He's like the Dukes of Hazzard out there, man. He's freaking Bo Duke in it in every corner. I'm a fan. I need an Austin Cranes. I need some Austin Cranes pajamas. I think I need an Austin Cranes onesie.
Honestly, I think Austin Crane should start selling planes, because I thought we were about to see some takeoff and some lift from that Miata. I mean, thank God there's some holes in that floorboard, or else, that flat board, that flat bottom would have caused lift, and we would have seen him never again. That was absolutely insanity. Look at him down the inside on the completely dirty part of the track. And with the new update, that actually does affect the turning and the driving dynamics of the car as they come into the hairpin. Hopefully keeping the car in one piece. Yep, looks like they weren't affected too much there. Man, they are going at it right now. And Brian Hedian, what are you doing in P5? Brian, what is happening?
I was just about to say, kudos to Perez. Perez, for this entire race, he's had guys painting his bumper left, right, everybody up on him, and he just continues to punch out repeatable, clean laps, except for that one all-track excursion with Hedian. But, Perez has been under pressure the entire race, and he just continues to collect clean laps.
Oh, man. That might be a slowdown right there for Brad Perez. That was real close to being off the track. We'll see here in a second going on to the straight here if he slows down off to the side. It does not look like it. But yeah, no, completely agree with you. It's kind of crazy that Brad Perez has had 4 or 5 different drivers sitting right behind him on his rear bumper, yet he still is in the lead of the race. But I may have spoke too soon. Austin Cranes around the outside. Will he be able to get that exit? Honestly, turning the Miata into a rally car there for a second as we go into the latter part of the lap.
Oh, man. I'm telling you what, Austin Cranes, his driving style is electrifying.
At this point, I hope that this season I get to sit right seat with Austin in the dirt track across the street, because he's really showing proficiency in the dirt here.
This is the white flag lap. We are looking at checkers next time by. The crowd is on its feet, and these two, look at these cars. McAuliffe throwing it up in the air, Cranes style. Hedian trying to hang on to the podium, and this is. I just want to be quiet and watch what happens here. I can't even talk fast enough, Dimitro. I don't even know what's going to happen still.
Hedian, yeah, looked like he got up to P3 there for a second. Tap from Sean McAuliffe. That car was sideways. He turned into the Brian Hedian RTR drift crew, hanging it loose. Hopefully he's keeping his foot in it. You should probably get back on the tarmac. Good work, Brian. This final hairpin is going to be something. I really don't know what's going to happen here.
Well, here we go. Into turn 17 for the final time. Cranes throws it wide. Let's see who handles these bumps. Coming to the checkers this time by. Hedian is in third. Perez and Cranes tries the over-under. It might be enough.
Oh, he's backwards.
Perez. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my. And Perez pits Cranes. Oh, wow. There are going to be lots of drivers in the stewards. There are going to be lots of drivers in the stewards office after this one.
That was quite the finish to be had, I must say.
Can we get a replay of that?
I need a replay of that. Certainly can bring up a replay of that. That was, ladies and gentlemen, I don't really think that's how you're supposed to pass most drivers. To be completely honest,
executed the over/under and had the pace going into the finish. Let's watch this again.
So we're coming back onto the the front straight here, if we skip forward a little bit, you can see they're all side by side by side by side. Now, if we take a look here, let's try to see if we can get like a blimp cam. Take a look here. From above, they get loose, hanging it out wide. Brian, honestly, goes way too wide. He's not going to make that corner. But up ahead, Sean McAuliffe wins the race, and Brad Perez just kind of goes straight into the back of him. Let's just watch that one more time. I feel like...
Let's watch that one more time. I think Perez...
It's really hard to see.
I know. I don't think Perez turned him. I don't think Perez turned into him. What's it? Yeah, here we go.
Here we go. So, on board with Brad Perez.
Cranes elongates the straightaway and gets the run. He's tracking out.
Yikes. Just came across him.
Maybe Perez pitted him. I'm not sure.
There is an argument to be made. We're going to watch that back one more time because this is too much fun. There is an argument to be made that let's hop in the gyro cam. Let's kind of see what Brad Perez is seeing as
this is what I want to see. Yeah, because I want to see the steering input here. Let's watch the steering input. He's going for the straight. He sees the pink car. Oh, man, from that camera angle, it's really hard.
I'm not the one to jump to conclusions. I'll let everyone talk about it in the live chat, who you think or what you think happened there. I was going to give him benefit of the doubt, saying that the door was kind of closed as the outside of the final corner comes back in. He was kind of close to the middle of the track though, and then
yeah, I know.
And then it kept going towards the middle of the track.
The provisional results: Brad Perez on the top step. Sean McAuliffe sneaks through into second ahead of Brian Hedian in P3. Cranes finishes fourth. Barthelms in fifth. Antonio Unanue in sixth. Ian Barthelms in seventh. Manny T in eighth. Brian Quealy in ninth. Jordan Klein in 10th. Paterno, man, I definitely did not predict Paterno to finish even worse in the second race. William Farr, Trinka, Alex Schneider, George Poulos, and Todd Rutura. Poulos and Rutura did not turn a lap in the second race, so they finished at the bottom of the board.
Yeah, funny
race fans, it was awesome.
Real quick, Brad Perez is actually in the chat. He said it was an accidental side draft gone wrong. My fault. So I completely get what he means by the side draft. Probably it's got a little ego with it. Also, given the fact that it's really hard to kind of tell the perspectives, especially on a sim. So you really don't understand the car placement as well as you would in the car. So completely get what you mean, Brad. No harm, no foul there. We're just shooting some jokes sometimes, having some fun with it. So all well and good.
We're having fun with it. And listen, Austin Cranes, he's the kind of guy that I think will totally respect Perez's admission. And I mean, Cranes is a full send Dukes of Hazzard kind of guy. I think that race finished about like Cranes would have liked it to finish. Full send out of everybody. Absolutely. That was a great race.
That was great stuff. I love
fun.
That. Cool. Do you have anything
race
else
fans,
to add,
we appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you see you in 2 weeks. Is it 2 weeks or only 1 week? I think we have another race next Wednesday.
That's a great question.
I might be wrong.
Let me take a quick look at the events. Loading up the events as we speak. My phone taking as long as it wants to. I'll let you close this out, and if I figure it out in the next 5 seconds, then I'll let you know. Actually, yes, right. Next week, Zandvoort. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this will be the best race ever. This will be the best race.
Oh my gosh. It's a fantastic track. You don't want to miss it. We'll see you guys 1 week from tonight for our next race at Zandvoort. I think we're doing GT cars. It's going to be amazing. Thanks for tuning in, and we can't wait to see you at Monticello Motor Club in real life on April 5th, and we'll see you next week for our next Esports Sim race. Thanks, guys.